Hello, today we'll be walking through Stage 2 of the Understanding by Design template. Stage 2 is Determine Acceptable Evidence, and it relates to creating assessments that will be used to gather evidence for measuring the goals and understandings that you defined in Stage number 1. Let's get started. Stage number 2, Determine Acceptable Evidence. First, because one of the principles of good design is that all elements should be aligned, you'll see that in each section, a column runs down the left side where you should list the codes you created in Stage 1 for transfer goals, meaning goals, as well as knowledge and skill goals. All of the goals you listed in Stage 1 should appear somewhere in Stage 2. Otherwise, go back and revise your Stage 1. Stage 2 is divided into two forms of evidence: performance-based assessments and other evidence, which consists of more easily accessible homework, quizzes, observations, and such. Performance tasks are assessments that can be complex and require students to produce something novel and complicated to demonstrate or apply their understanding. Each unit should only have one or two performance tasks to avoid student and instructor burnout. These tasks are rightfully complex and challenging. Also, many learning goals can be measured using simpler forms of evidence. First, fill out what specific task will be performed in this column. Then, what criteria you will use. Criteria are often more subjective for performance assessments than in other forms of evidence, so try to be as specific as possible. Then, link back to your results codes from Stage 1. For my performance task, I have chosen to have my students do an annotated bibliography. Here you can see that for performance tasks, I have included performing a search on the library database, selecting useful sources from their search results, identifying thesis statement and summarizing important points, writing a paragraph assessing quality of the source, and writing a paragraph assessing the usefulness of the source for their research project. I then linked these back to the desired results codes on the left, and then in the right-hand column, I described evaluative criteria for each performance task. So, for example, when they perform a search on the library database, my evaluative criteria is that their keywords used are specific and effective at locating appropriate sources about the research topic. Moving on to other evidence, which is a category that captures those assessments that are not performance-based, list quizzes, homework, and other assessments that have simpler, more objective criteria for judgment. The last element of this stage is to develop a grading rubric for your performance assessment. Again, in my case, it's an annotated bibliography. You'll divide your assessment into criteria, develop a scale to judge quality, then carefully describe what evidence would constitute performance at each level. So, for example, here we have exemplary, sufficient, needs revision, and no evidence. Even though creating a rubric can be time-consuming, it provides the transparency for students and clarity for instructors as to exactly what the desired outcome is for performance assessments. This has been an orientation and overview of step number 2 of the Understanding by Design template.